They found that most of the federal facilities and DoD sites had these forever chemicals. Now, places like Kennedy Space Center, Patrick Air Force Base are also found to have these forever chemicals. Stell Bailey grew up in Brevard County, surfing on the weekends, playing with friends, and watching shuttle launches. She says she was always a daddy's girl.
This is my dad with us kids.
But at the time, she didn't know the water she was drinking might be poisonous.
I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. It's supposed to be a rare blood cancer. My little brother at the age of 21 was diagnosed with the same exact cancer, Hodgkin's lymphoma, about 3 months before I was. My father was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. They are all considered blood cancers.
Yet Bailey says doctors told her that these type of cancers are not passed along genetically. The American Cancer Society says 30% of blood cancer patients die within 5 years. Sadly, Bailey's father was among those to lose the fight.
Specialists and doctors, oncologists, nurses started asking me, where did you grow up? They thought that my case was extremely unique and rare because I wasn't the only one diagnosed in my family with cancer within the same year.
Once in remission, Bailey decided to find out if anyone else in her area had dealt with a similar situation. Turning to social media, she discovered hundreds of others. After researching the locations of the cases, she suspected some might be linked to so-called forever chemicals, or PFAS.
In our area, most of the chemicals are coming from firefighting foam known as AFFF. It was used at the Kennedy Space Center, Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, and Patrick Space Force Base.
Her suspicion led to her forming the group Fight for Zero, which campaigns for cleanup of PFAS chemicals. The group has partnered with Dr. Catherine DeLise, an environmental engineer at the University of Florida who is researching coastal resiliency and forever chemicals.
They assist us with sample collection. They've been collecting samples for a full year now. And these sample collection will allow us to establish a baseline.
DeLise has a grant from the EPA to look into how flooding, rain, and hurricanes disperse forever chemicals and how far. She says some of the highest concentrations can be found near DoD sites, Kennedy Space Center, and in seagrass in the Banana River.
Different states have initiated efforts, like their own efforts, to develop enforceable values for PFAS in drinking water or in soil or in food. And then they have their own standards that have to be either same or more stringent than what EPA established. Florida doesn't have these. We don't have in Florida. But what the FDEP has been working on is preliminary cleanup target levels.
The project is in the data collection phase until the end of hurricane season. Then it will begin analyzing its samples. That process could take years. President Biden recently signed into law a $1 billion grant that will eventually be a $5 billion grant that state agencies can apply for. That way they can start the efforts of cleaning up these forever chemicals.